Hello, this is Tommy Ivy, video number 38, and the title is The Prophet Amos, Why God Was So Angry with Israel. There are 6 points to this video. Number 1, Solomon sins and the kingdom splits. It divides. Number 2, the northern kingdom was filthy rich, and we'll show that. Number 3, why Amos prophesies God's judgment. Number 4, the punishment of the Israelites. Number 5, how the Israelites could avoid this punishment. And number 6, a special section. Stay with it. How did the book of Amos become part of the Bible? Number 1, Solomon sins and the kingdom splits. Solomon was a wise king, but he sinned and God punished him. In 1 Kings 11:11-13, it says, because of David being so faithful, you can continue as king of Israel, but when you die, the kingdom will be divided. So why was God so mad at Solomon? Well, Solomon was looking for the meaning of life. In Ecclesiastes 2:1, he said, I said in mine heart, go to now, I will prove thee with mirth, fun, therefore enjoy pleasure. For Solomon, pleasure was women and girls. In 1 Kings 11:3, it says, and he had 700 wives, princesses, and 300 concubines, and his wives turned away his heart. Well, many of his wives were from pagan countries like Eden, Ammon, Moab, Turkey, that's the Hittites, and Egypt. In 2 Chronicles 8:11, and Solomon brought up the daughters of Pharaoh out of the city of David, Jerusalem, into the house that he had built for her. For he said, my wife shall not dwell in the house of David, king of Israel, because the places are holy, whereinto the ark of the Lord hath come. Well, this Egyptian wife was the first of many unwise marriages for him. Solomon had admitted that this particular wife was an unbeliever. Many of the wives brought their idols, and Solomon succumbed. So who will take over when he dies? In 1 Kings 11:28, and the man Jeroboam was a mighty man of valor, and Solomon, seeing the young man that he was industrious, he made him ruler over all the charge of the house of Joseph. And in the next 3 verses, Jeroboam was on a walk, and the prophet Ahijah met him and took off Jeroboam's new garment and tore it into 12 pieces. And Ahijah told Jeroboam to take 10 of these pieces, and that represents 10 tribes of Israel. Well, Solomon died, and Rehoboam, that was Solomon's son, he became king for a very little bit of time. But he was foolish. In 1 Kings 12:14, my father made your yoke heavy, and I will add to your yoke. And my father chastised you with whips, but I will chastise you with scorpions. Well, part of the reason Solomon was so rich is because he taxed his people excessively, and he made them work for him for about a month of every year. Well, the people rebelled against Rehoboam and put Jeroboam king of the northern kingdom, and he had 12 tribes there, and Rehoboam was the king of the southern kingdom, which is Judah, and that's where Jerusalem was. All right, northern kingdom was filthy rich. How do we know that? Well, let's jump ahead 160 years to Amos. Israel's northern kingdom had become wealthy. In fact, their territory had grown 4-fold. They had conquered many surrounding nations. It was the best of times militarily and economically. and the people had thought that God was blessing them because of all that was going on. And there was stability in the country. Jeroboam the second, a different Jeroboam, of course, he was king for 41 years. In Amos 3:15, this is how we know they were rich. They had winter houses and summer houses, houses of ivory. And in Amos 6:4, they lied upon the beds of ivory and stretched themselves upon their couches, and they ate lambs and calves. Now, it's more expensive to eat young animals like that. In Amos 6:6, and they drank wine in bowls and anointed themselves with the chief ointments. So they were really rich. Why did Amos prophesy judgment? Well, in Amos 2:6, one of the main reasons that they were going to be punished was because they were oppressing the poor. The poor were working, but the employers were holding back wages and taking advantage of them. It says that they were bought for a pair of shoes. So what would happen is the poor would sell themselves as servants just for a pair of sandals because they were so poor. In James 5:4, it says that the people would hire laborers and they would keep back some of their wages, and because of fraud. And the cries were heard by the Lord. And we sometimes do the same. Like if you go to a flea market or a vegetable market or a yard sale, well, maybe not a yard sale, but sometimes you'll try to barter and you'll try to get something cheap. And these people that you're bartering from, they're usually pretty poor. They probably don't have a second house. Another reason that we know that they were going to have judgment is because in Amos 2:7 it says they were practicing adultery and fornication. Sound familiar? Well, they were doing things with their maids. They were drinking alcoholic wine. They were, in Amos 3:14, it says they transgressed the altars of Bethel. Bethel had a golden idol. Bethel was a city in southern part of Israel, and the people were going down to Jerusalem to worship God. And Jeroboam II said, well, you don't need to go down there. I'm going to give you an idol right here in the southern part of Israel in Bethel, and I'll give you one up north too in Dan. And you don't have to go all the way down to the temple. Well, in Amos 5:12, it says that their judges took bribes. Once again, pretty familiar. So the punishment of the Israelites, what is it going to be? In Amos 7:9, it says, and the high places of Isaac shall be desolate, and the sanctuaries of Israel shall be laid waste, and I will rise up against the house of Jeroboam with the sword. In Amos 4:2, the Lord God hath sworn by his holiness that, lo, the days shall come upon you that he will take you away with hooks, and your posterity with fish hooks. So they're going to be led away with hooks, maybe through the nose and maybe in their bottoms with fish hooks. And that's how the enemy was going to take them away. And he's also going to, in Amos 4:6, he's going to withhold rain from them. He's going to put mildew in their gardens and vineyards. And if you are a gardener, you know that mildew is very devastating to your crops, your tomato crops, your potato crops, whatever crops you have, mildew will destroy it. And the young men and horses, they're going to die and they're going to smell real bad. And behold, the eyes of the Lord God are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. So that's what Amos was telling them was going to happen. Now, if they told me that was going to happen to me, I would figure some way to straighten out a little bit. So the next section is how the Israelites could avoid this punishment. In Amos 5:4, it says, for thus saith the Lord unto the house of Israel, seek ye me, and ye shall live. 5:5, seek not Bethel. these golden idols. Don't do that. Amos 5:8. Seek him that maketh the 7 stars and Orion, and turneth the shadow of death into the morning, and maketh the day dark with the night, that calleth for the waters of the sea, and poureth them out upon the face of the earth. God takes water from the ocean and brings it back as rain. The Lord is his name. The Lord made the universe. The universe is vast. He's very powerful. The 7 stars they're talking about is a constellation called Pleiades. There's 7 stars that you can see with the naked eye, and they're usually pretty bluish looking. If you look in the up in the sky and you see Orion's belt, which a lot of people know what that is, that's 3 stars together, and you go upward, you will see Pleiades. And if you want to get there, you can take the rocket ship New Horizons that goes 10 miles a second, and it will take you 8.3 million years to get there. Now, it shows you how big that universe is, but there is a constellation that's a lot further than that, Ursa Major. That constellation, if you take the New Horizons rocket ship, it's going to take you 2.3 billion years to get there, and then you have to come back too. Amos chapter 7. Amaziah was the chief priest, and he told Amos, he didn't like all this prophesying and these bad things that look like they're going to happen. He said, go back to Judah. And Amos said, I was no prophet, nor a prophet's son, but a herdsman and a gatherer of sycamore fruit. They're like figs. The Lord said, go prophesy unto my people Israel. Now therefore hear thou the words of the Lord, to keep your sons and daughters from falling by the sword, and your wife from being a harlot. Well, Amaziah, listen to me, and you can keep your sons and daughters from getting killed by the sword, and you can keep your wife from becoming a harlot before she gets killed. The executioners in the book of Amos were not really named, but they probably were either the Assyrians or the Babylonians. All right, how did the book of Amos become part of the Bible? This is a special section. God will determine the true prophet in Numbers 12:6. And he said, hear now my words. If there be a prophet among you, I, the Lord, will make myself known unto him in a vision, and will speak unto him in a dream. That's one of the ways that God would speak to the prophets. The other way, he would just speak directly to them, like he did that to Ezekiel and to Jeremiah. In Jeremiah 28:9, the prophet which prophesieth of peace or anything else, when the word of the prophet shall come to pass, then shall the prophet be known that the Lord hath truly sent him. But what happens to a false prophet? In Deuteronomy 18:20, but the prophet which shall pressure to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or they shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. How are the words of the prophet preserved? In Jeremiah 36, it gives you an idea of that. God tells Jeremiah to take a scroll and write down all the prophecies he has spoken against Judah, Israel, and other nations. And Jeremiah dictates his prophecies to Baruch. He is a scribe. He is a Levite from one of the 12 tribes, and that tribe is Levi. Baruch goes into the temple in Jerusalem and reads to the people. He said, all right, I've got this prophecy on this scroll. I'm going to go into the temple, tell the people about it. Maybe they can straighten up. Well, some officials take the scrolls to King Jehoiakim. And Jehoiakim, upon hearing the prophecies, tears up the scroll and burns it. And the Lord tells Jeremiah to speak the same words to Baruch and have him write them again and add more prophecies. I think maybe more prophecies about Jehoiakim. So Amos probably had a scribe. he had one with him, or he had one that he talked to a couple days later, and he would write down the words of Amos, and then the scrolls were put into the temple. And as time went by, if the prophecies came true, then it would make it into the Bible. At the end of Amos, there was a prophecy for the millennial kingdom, and it said that a remnant of Israel would be saved. But it hadn't come true yet because the millennial kingdom hasn't come yet. But if all the rest of these prophecies were true, most likely that would come true too. All right, I have a song. It's called Precious Memories. And it's about memories that we have from our childhood. And something that I have figured out in the last little bit of time, a few days, is that I think we leave home a little bit too soon. Being at home with our nice mom and dads, it was so secure, it was so easy, everything was taken care of. We had, you really didn't have to have any worries at all. And it's just a real nice time. And I personally was pretty good when I lived at home. I never drank. I never did anything bad with girls, and I was just living a pretty clean life. I went to college and it wasn't so clean. So it would have been better for me to have gone to college close to home, lived at home, or I could have worked some and then gone to college. But this song is about precious memories. It's about living with our parents. Precious memories, unseen angels sent from somewhere to my soul. And how they linger ever near me as the sacred past unfolds. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. Precious Father and loving Mother fly across the lonely years. Scenes of my childhood in fond memory appears. It's precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. Stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. All right, listen to this. I remember Mother praying, Father too on bended knees. The shadows falling, but their prayer still follows me. Precious memories, how they linger, and how they ever flood my soul. In precious sacred scenes unfold. Precious memories, how they linger. This is Tommy Ivy, video number 38. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.